The Huawei MediaPad T3 is an 8-inch Android tablet that costs around $140, so it is pretty cheap but offers almost identical hardware to the Lenovo Tab 4.8 and Samsung Galaxy Tab A8.0. I reviewed both of them already. Its features are a Snapdragon 425, Android 7.0 Nougat and optional LTE. I'm AJ for mynexttablet.com and this is my Huawei MediaPad T3 review. The design of the MediaPad T3 is very similar to the T310 that I reviewed already. We're getting a mostly metal back here, which is held in place by a plastic frame. Still, it feels nice and well built. The only criticism I have is with the transition from the plastic frame to the screen. It seems like they don't fit perfectly together, but as I said, it feels solid. Huawei is offering the MediaPad T3 with the black and white front. Unlike with the Samsung Galaxy Tab A, there's no physical home button, just software buttons. Instead of a home button, there's a Huawei logo underneath the display. Because of that, the bezels are not thinner than with the Samsung one. It's certainly not very thin at 7.95mm, but not too thick either. The tablet weighs 350 grams, which is alright as well. Like with its bigger brother, there's no USB Type-C port. Instead, Huawei is using a standard micro USB connector to charge the device. You can use it to connect accessories as well. On the top is a 3.5mm audio jack and on the side you can open a slot for a micro SD card. If you've got the LTE version, then you can put a SIM card in here as well. Above the slot are the power button and volume controls, which are both made out of plastic. Above the screen is one single speaker, which you can also hold to your ear for phone calls. You can use the LTE version as a phone. While it is nice that we are getting a front-facing speaker, the quality is not that great. It's certainly fine for some YouTube and even listening to a couple of music videos, but you can't fill a room with that sound. Next to the speaker is a 2-megapixel front-facing camera, which is alright for video chats. On the back is a 5-megapixel camera, which is usable as well, but not great. The cameras of the Galaxy Tab A8.0 are a bit better. The 8-inch screen of the Huawei MediaPad T3 offers an HD resolution with 1280 by 800 pixel. Yes, an HD screen is far from perfect because pretty much every smartphone offers a higher pixel density, but I think it's still alright for an 8-inch display. Text and icons might not look as sharp, but I think it's still usable. You have to live with that anyways because no competitor in this price range offers a full HD screen. All other aspects are pretty good. Colors look nice, the contrast is good and you don't see too many reflections. In fact, it seems like the screen is laminated. Unlike with Samsung's competitor, there's no gap between the IPS panel and the touchscreen. The brightness is fine for working outside, but the screen of the Galaxy Tab A8.0 is noticeably brighter. Inside the Huawei MediaPad T3 runs the Qualcomm Snapdragon 425 together with 2GB of RAM and a 16GB internal storage. Sounds familiar? Well, it should be because we get almost identical hardware with the MediaPad T310, Lenovo Tab 410, Tab 4.8 and the Samsung Galaxy Tab A8.0. So the hardware is not very exciting and pretty much identical to its competition. As you might expect, the performance of all of them is very similar. The MediaPad T3 is certainly powerful enough for most things, including surfing the web, watching some YouTube and doing some light multitasking. If you switch between apps fast or have a lot of tabs and Chrome open, you might notice some minor stuttering though. The benchmarks show very similar results as well. In Geekbench 4 it gets around 680 and 1890 points, and Antutu it gets a result of around 38,000. As you can see, there are some minor differences between the Snapdragon 425 tablets, and what's important to note, the much cheaper Amazon Fire HD 8 gets very similar results. So the benchmark results are quite alike, and that's what my gaming test shows as well. I've been able to play a lot of games very nicely. That includes Asphalt 8 Airborne, Asphalt Extreme and Into the Dead 2. You might see some stuttering occasionally because, well, it's not a gaming tablet, but overall the performance is pretty good. For some reason I couldn't start Moto Combat 5. Now, Moto Combat 5 does not run smoothly on any Snapdragon 425 tablet I reviewed, but still it's weird that it crashes right after starting it. That shouldn't be and wasn't the case with the MediaPad T310. Maybe it's just a problem with my version, but who knows. Huawei ships the MediaPad T3 with Android 7.0 Nougat, so no Oreo yet. If that will ever change? In the past, Huawei did release some updates occasionally, but not for all of their tablets. Since this is a cheaper one, I don't expect it to ever get a major update. On top of Nougat runs the Emotion UI in version 5.1. That's the own interface from Huawei, which is identical to the interface of their past smartphones and tablets. If you ever owned a device from them in the past couple of years, you will feel right at home. So the interface is customized quite heavily and you can customize it yourself quite a lot. There are a lot of apps pre-installed as well. Huawei has their own Notes app, a calculator, a weather app and some more. In addition to that, we get a lot of Google apps and some Microsoft apps. There's more? There is indeed. Other apps like the Facebook Messenger and Booking.com are pre-installed as well. So as you can see, there's really a ton of stuff pre-installed. You can deinstall a lot of them, but that does not go for the ones from Huawei. Because of these apps, you only get 7.3 GB to use by yourself out of the box. That's not a lot. With the Samsung you get just over 9 GB and they used to ship overloaded systems in the past. By now, Huawei has taken their place. While I prefer vanilla Android, I can live with Huawei's interface. My recommendation is to go through the settings one by one and just see what you might want to change, and just deinstall all the apps that you don't need. For example, I replaced the Huawei keyboard with the Google keyboard. I just like it better. By the way, if you want to use almost vanilla Android, you can take a look at the Lenovo Tab 4.8, which only has some minor customizations. And as I said, even Samsung is shipping less pre-installed stuff. Let's take a look at the battery life. The battery of the MediaPad T3 was not great, and Huawei is shipping the same 4800 mAh battery in the MediaPad T3, but we only have an 8-inch screen here, which needs less power. And indeed, the battery life is much better. In my test it got a result of 13 hours. Now, this is the result of my standard test. I'm always looping an HD video at 50% brightness and activated Wi-Fi. But during everyday use, the battery life is pretty good too. According to my battery diary, I got a runtime of 49 hours. During that time I used it actively for 6 hours and 20 minutes. As you can see, the tablet is not losing a lot of charge while in standby. During those 6.3 hours I watched a lot of YouTube, browsed the web a bit and wrote a bit in Microsoft Word. The brightness varied between 50 and 100% and Bluetooth and Wi-Fi were turned on the whole time. So, can I recommend the Huawei MediaPad T3? The build quality is pretty good, the performance is fine for most things and the battery life is great. Its 8-inch screen offers an HD resolution only, which is not perfect, but the competition isn't any better either. My major criticism is the heavy customized Emotion UI. But still, I think the MediaPad T3 is a pretty good entry-level tablet and yes, I can recommend it. But you should also take a look at its competitors. The first one is the Lenovo Tab 4.8 with almost identical hardware. While the battery life is not as good, it's running almost vanilla Android. The Samsung Galaxy Tab A 8.0 is a nice alternative as well. The battery life is good and the screen is a bit brighter. In the past, Samsung has been much better with updates too. Yes, the interface is customized as well, but not as much. Its major downside is the price. In most countries it's noticeably more expensive than the Huawei. Another interesting and much cheaper competitor is the Amazon Fire HD 8. The screen, performance and battery life are very similar. It is running Amazon's Android though. If you can live with that, this is one of the cheapest competitors and, as I said, very similar. Alright, that's my review of the Huawei MediaPad T3. If you've got any questions, just write them down below. I'm NJ for mynexttablet.com. Thanks for watching.